Hello and welcome to the Moto Mash, brought to you by the Midweek Mash Tattie Sportscast. I'm your host Harvey. With me today is Michael and Paul.
That's us. Yeah.
Just Michael and Paul. No fancy names, no gimmicks.
Fancy
just
names.
a real thing.
Time for your push.
Yeah.
Pish, just names.
No time for my pish pat of the day, please.
Matter,
Oh,
just
good.
lazy.
How are you doing anyway? Is all good?
All good in the hood.
Yeah.
Flying, mate. Flying, but a bit upset, and I'm sure we'll come to that as a
Well,
answer.
I mean, it's not been a good weekend for you, is it?
Oh, they've took my sunshine, man. They just took my smile. It's the hope that kills you.
Paul's been watching the Waynes the other weekend, and unfortunately, one of them's broken.
I've had a bad week. My missus took the older kids, the 16-year-olds, to London on trains, everywhere in the underground. They're both healthy and safe. I took the three youngest to the park. One of them's broken his bloody knee. That's it. My Father of the Year has been rescinded.
Oh,
He
God.
was running for a football and tripped over in the most innocuous fashion that I've ever seen. And I thought, oh, up you get, buddy. And he got up doing the most comical sort of cartoon limp. And I thought, what? And I'm going, you all right? And he's going, aye, it's just a wee bit sore. It's a wee bit sore. Transpires a day later, he's got a small fracture in his kneecap. And all I feel like is Dick Father of the Year as opposed to Father of the Year. It's been some weekend, lads. It's been some weekend.
Ah, boy.
I have
Yeah.
I have came up with a couple of nicknames that might not stick,
Yes.
but they just popped into my head just because we didn't have any nicknames this week. So I propose to you Moto Mick and Pirelli Paul.
Yes!
There we go.
Now the only one I could come up
Slightly
with,
better than Dick Humongous.
the only one I could come up with for Harvey was Hamster Harvey because he's such a big Lewis Hamilton fan.
Yeah.
Harvey Horsepower.
Oh, there you go. That works. Horsepower Harvey.
Horsepower.
I don't mind Lewis Hamilton, you know. I just think he's not as good as what everybody
You
says.
said it for the walls.
It's just too enjoyable. I love that when in fact we'll get into it.
Aye, right. Let's get on to the race. Well, before the race, qualifying. It's very interesting qualifying now. A couple of people.
That was an exciting qualifying.
I mean, last week I did say that I thought Haas would probably do well in this qualifying, and well, they did.
Lo and behold.
Just
In the rain, no
too.
less.
aye, in the rain is that as well.
Mick Schumacher, naysayers be damned.
Yeah,
It was tremendous.
aye, brilliant. And then Verstappen, Alonso.
Yep.
Yeah, you know. So that was interesting. Obviously, Leclerc and who was the other that took a engine parts?
Yuki Tsunoda.
They
Yuki
started
Tsunoda,
from the
wasn't it?
back.
Yep.
But aye, everybody thought it would probably be a wet race today, but it turned out it was actually nice and sunny.
That was like the best day of the week,
Bone
man.
dry,
Wow.
wasn't it? Aye, it really was.
Aye.
When they first started setting up the track earlier in the week and they were putting footage out, it was like, shit, I don't think we're getting a race this week. The place was flooded,
That was
man.
like a monsoon season in Canada, apparently.
Oh,
They did an overhead shot. I think it was in one of the practices. I can't quite remember what I was watching, but they did an overhead shot, and I think it was Ted on the commentary again it. That bit there's the lake, and that bit there's the track, and the only difference is the boats are driving in the lake and the cars are driving in the track.
Aye, that's right, aye. That's what we say, of course. And pretty much spot on, really.
Oh, good. Aye. So, start of the race, lights out. It's kind of a wee bit of a frantic start, wasn't it? People try to change
Interesting, aye.
places.
It was a bit mental, but somehow no big No big
I had no
crash
big
in it.
changes or any
Well, like
crashes.
3 and 4 abreast at times. But
no.
Well, aye.
Oh,
aye,
no,
aye,
no,
aye.
no.
Well,
No,
hold
there
on.
was a disaster.
There was, aye.
Lads, there was a disaster.
there was a light nudge.
There was a light nudge that wasted my afternoon. K-Mag, Hamilton go wheel to wheel,
Aye.
and K-Mag's front wing ruined.
When will K-Mag learn?
My afternoon ruined.
When will K-Mag learn that he just can't go wheel to wheel with Hamilton?
Don't go near Hamilton, for God's
Doesn't it
sake.
end well for him?
One day he'll come out on top, so he will. One day. I mean, see, to be fair, Hamilton was lucky that he never got a puncture
Aye.
on the left rear.
Aye,
So
of
it was.
course. Aye, with that busted
He's
line,
so
no?
bloody like bullheaded, man. Like he was determined that like he had. I mean, to be fair, he had the racing line, but he was determined that he was
He
sticking.
did have the line, though.
He was
aye. I
sticking
mean, he
to that
did.
racing line.
He just stuck to his guns, and
He did.
K-Mag comes off worse, and that
Came out
good
worse.
weekend of work is just ruined.
Gone. They
Ruined.
subsequently gave K-Mag the old black and orange flag on
I
lap
mean, that's twice in 2 weeks we've seen that.
Lap 6. But you know what was interesting? On lap 6, Gasly and Vettel pitted. Did you forget
That's
that?
right, aye, they did.
They
Aye,
said
they
the
did.
tyres were
Aye,
just. They're like,
Died on
aye. Aye. It's a
That
strange
seemed
one.
to be a bit of a problem this weekend with tyre degradation. Apparently, there was no F2 or F3 in the track this weekend, so was the track rougher? I think was what the commentary team were kind of telling the story of. Like,
Aye. So seemingly,
there seemed to be an issue.
seemingly it was like driving in like fresh tarmac or whatever, like because they didn't have layers of rubber built up for the like the junior races or juniors, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
Um,
The F2.
Aye.
So
it meant that like it was effectively this sort of harder, rougher surface, and also suddenly in the dry, which they weren't quite expecting.
Aye, no way,
So
aye.
the tyres that they had, the compounds they had, just weren't hard enough for the surface. Nobody was touching softs.
Who was it? Alonso,
they'd have been gone, man.
Stroll, Leclerc, Norris, Bottas. I nearly said Button there. Long time he's not been racing. And
That'd be a
Perez,
shocker.
they all started on hards. So they did.
Aye, straight away.
Yeah. So Alonso's. Oh wait, did Alonso as well?
He must have been because he went.
Aye, Alonso was.
Well, he
He
was.
stayed out a while.
Aye, it was Alonso as well. Alonso as well because he wanted to do a one stop, didn't he? So he went all the way. Well, I can't mind what lap he pitted, but he went a long time with it pitting. So he did.
It was
Aye.
sort of 30. No. Oh no! It was
Anyway.
like 50 something. I think he went.
Aye.
Aye, because I think that's what it was. Because I remember there was chat of like Alonso and Leclerc had a very similar approach, but they like flipped. So Leclerc went in at like 20-ish, and then went really long, and Alonso went really long and then went in.
Aye.
Is that largely a disappointing weekend for Alonso, though, to do so well in qualifying and then slip so far down?
I'd say a slight disappointment. I think if they're being realistic, they were shooting for a round sort of 5th. Because I think they would have expected.
So their target was to kind of go with Hamilton.
They
wasn't
would
it?
have expected
Like, that was-
to
that was
suffer a
where
wee bit in the
their
race, I
challenge
think. They knew through the practices that they were doing really well for like 1 lap speed on that track, but I don't know that they would have expected to do, like be fighting for a pole. I mean, to be fair, obviously, granted they hadn't stopped, but like he was, he was in pretty good shape for a long time in there, sitting top 3, top 4, top 5. I mean, he can slowly work down. Once things sort of shook out.
Aye. I mean, what happened with him was he didn't pit when everybody else was pitting on the safety cars, so his tyres were getting.
that was a strange shout, wasn't it? Aye.
They're
He
getting
did
known.
this.
His pace dropped off heavy. Well, everybody else, their pace was going up because the cars were getting lighter with using the fuel and being on fresher tyres. They were getting faster and faster,
Aye.
and he was getting
So
slower.
Lap 8 was the first. It was the virtual safety car. Obviously, that's when Perez
That's
fucking
right, aye.
motor kicked the bucket. Well, I think it was a transmission.
Seemingly,
No, I think he was saying stuck in gear,
He's aye.
which is transmission.
Aye.
Like,
He couldn't. He was trying to shift
he
gear
was-
and nothing was happening.
he said it was stuck in gear. So we'll see what that is later on. So lap 8. Well, actually, lap 8. That's when K-Mag went in.
Have Red Bull had transmission yet? Because they're really filling out their bingo card.
Don't think
They're
so.
going for the full hoose,
Aye.
like, aye. I mean, not that it's affecting their kind of their drivers' championship charge anyway. Eh?
Well, that
Seemingly.
or Verstappen's title defence. No.
Aye, I mean,
Aye. Aye. So lap 9, Verstappen and Hamilton pit. They're the only two to pit on that. Well, aye, at first, which was strange. You'd have thought everybody else would have come in, but everybody has the different strategies, right? So, I mean, it worked out for them fine. You know what I found interesting? On lap 19, over the radio, Hamilton gets told if he catches up to Russell will not. Effectively, Russell will let him pass.
Aye, we'll fight too hard or whatever. I can't remember the word, but
It wasn't they won't have much resistance.
aye, I think
Something
resistance
like
was
that.
used. Aye, it was along the lines.
I think it was down to the
And then-
strategy of pits, though, wasn't it? If I remember
Aye,
correctly.
Russell hadn't pitted at that point.
It was he had the
Russell knew that with the pit strategy, Hamilton stood more of a chance.
Aye.
Yeah.
Which is something we wondered whether he would play well as a team player, like in these situations. And really, obviously, he sees the point in it then.
The thing is, I don't think he could have done anything anyway. If Hamilton catches him from so far back, he's obviously got a lot more pace in him due to the tyre degradation. So
Aye.
even if he wants to be a good teammate or not, like
I mean, it's
Hamilton's going to go
basically it's
past
just
him.
a case of
Logic suggests. Aye.
don't do anything stupid. Like if he catches you, then we know he's faster because he's in fresher tyres.
Aye.
Don't put the tweeze out the race. Like we can come out with something decent here.
Aye.
It's the same thing Hamilton has been told when Russell's been on form behind him because Russell's taking advantage of the safety cars and it's not worked out for Hamilton in previous races. So Russell's been flying behind Hamilton. They're telling Hamilton like don't fight him, and then Hamilton's like, oh, for sake, this again.
I mean, effectively, it's a good weekend for Mercedes
much
as
so.
far as constructors go. They
3-4.
They came out of that weekend with the most points, with 27 points. I mean, so it's
They keep getting it sore in the media when they're seemingly underperforming or struggling in the practices, but they're obviously they're trying different things with their setups. You know what I mean? They're experimenting in the practice sessions, and then they're going to what they know is working best when it comes race time.
Well, during the qualifying and racing.
Qualifying and racing, aye. And they're making steady improvements we can make, but they always, or not always, but most of the time, more often than no, Hamilton, because he's been a wee bit more experimental, but more often than no, they look a bit shit and at least one, if no more, in the practice sessions because they're experimenting with different stuff.
Which you've got to use the practice.
Yep.
To experiment, you know what I mean? Which I don't understand why folk see the practices. I don't really pay them much mind, to be honest. The qualifying, I look at the qualifying and then kind of judge it for there. Like the practicing means nothing to me.
really like
The timings and stuff.
qualifying's where you're going to see the real.
Aye, I mean, and I'm not there to sit. I'm not actually there to see the differences in, what this setup does to the car and this setup. So I'm not really. Bothered with it. Where some people go nuts for the practice, and it's like, cool. It's like going nuts for pre-season.
I mean, it is exactly what it says in the tin, and it's practice. That's why it's called practice.
Well, I mean, Shaw was doing pretty well until he came up behind Ocon. Is it Ocon?
Aye, okay.
A couple of them.
There was a kind of DRS training, a few
train,
of them that kind of slowed them up a wee bit.
Which, incidentally, when you mention that shows that it's not just like the Mercedes or the McLaren or whoever else that get stuck in them. You know what I mean? It's not just cars that are shit or no dancer wheel that get stuck in these DRS trains. It is a problem.
Aye.
Aye.
A big problem. I mean, eventually he got past, right?
What with pit stops and different stuff happening,
He
was able
had to do
work
different
his way up,
strategies and a couple of times.
Drive craft as well. Like
Oh,
you're starting the 19th to get to 5th is a massive success.
he had a few good overtakes and stuff in there as well.
It was good, man. It was good, but it shows you that the car's a good car as well, to be able to get up there. But he got stuck a couple of times, and on the radio, he was like, because it was a couple of laps, he was stuck back. I think it was Ocon, sure it was, and they were right, we're going to plan B, Charles. And he's like, whatever. I don't whatever.
He wasn't very
I can't get past it. Like, whatever. So in the box, then he came in. But at that point, he was just like, I can't get past this. You know what I mean?
He'd been moaning about his grip in the wheels, man. Like his tyres were starting to die.
When he
There
was
was also
cornering.
a pit issue, I'm sure, when he came in. The pit seemed to kind of have a wee fuck up because he was in longer, maybe a couple of seconds longer meant he come out. I think it was 13th instead of potentially 10th or 11th.
It was two.
Which again, put him in traffic. Like, I mean, again, he's in the back of the grid. 5th is still a great achievement. Like,
but you've got
it
to
potentially
think
could have been better.
Exactly. I was just going to say, you've got to think if that pit stop was 2.8 seconds, I'm talking about the stationary part, right? If it was 2.8 rather than 5.3, like not even 2 seconds, but he would have been further up the field. It's like every millisecond counts in F1, man. Honestly, it's just,
you wonder how close he would have been to Russell in the end of it.
Aye. Were you watching any of Bottas, Paul?
I didn't. I mean, it didn't really. I felt like the coverage didn't really show too much about Bottas. Obviously, it's a good performance again for the
Alfa Romeo
flying Finn, as it were. Aye, Alfa Romeo a good day in general. I thought Guanyu Zhou had a good day as well. Obviously,
aye, he
had a good race. He had a good race.
That's his first point since the opening weekend, and Alfa Romeo again just continue to do very, very well. Obviously, 7th in the constructors.
Aye.
Overperforming, perhaps. Aye, probably. I mean, next to Haas, they're probably the smallest funded team. Like, kind of Haas, Williams, and Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo are 6. My mistake, lads. Which I would definitely say is overperformance.
Who is it? Haas is Williams. I mean, Williams. There's no Nicholas Latifi.
Nicholas, I'm sorry, I just lost control, guys. Latifi.
Oh, God.
He's murder.
Is that all I feel like you ever see?
His home Grand Prix, and I mean, if it wasn't for K-Mag having the bad luck there, like he would have finished last.
This is why I was even more upset, is that Magnussen finished behind Latifi.
I mean, 16th. In 17th, sorry.
Poor Gunther.
I mean,
I just feel for Gunther.
Mick, no. Oh my God! Like,
what does he need to do to get points? By the way,
his car just like shit the bed. Like it just switched off.
He's clearly a good driver. He's clearly very talented.
Yep. And
what does he need to do?
No harm to Haas. I think he needs a better car and a better team to really show what he's capable of. I think K-Mag's got enough experience now that he can navigate some of the areas where they fall a bit short.
Some of the kinks, aye. Some of the wee kinks.
Whereas Schumacher, like if Schumacher had came through like sort of AlphaTauri going into Red Bull, that kind of thing, like where they've got that really strong system in place. Got to think he would be doing pretty well for himself.
Was he part of the Ferrari Driver Academy when he was younger? Aye. So potentially that's where he goes one day. If he continues to show his skills, which I think, despite the lack of points, he's shown a very high level of talent.
Well, this is the thing. Like, he has a lack of points because his car isn't he?
He can't physically drag his car round the track.
He showed a ton of potential.
Short of that, what else can he do?
I think what he's missing is consistent performances, but when your car and your team aren't consistent, it's hard to have consistent performances.
Then what can you honestly do?
The thing is, right, I know some people, like, there was a comparison made, right? I think it was our good pal Sandy Austin sent us
shout out to you, Sandy,
a group chat, and it was somebody comparing, oh my God, what's his name? Mazepin and Mick Schumacher, and they're saying if this was Mazepin last year, like, everybody would be, oh, right, roll this and that. I thought, right, okay, but Mick, you can see that he has the potential. The reason why he's crashed, like, especially the qualifying, is because his car isn't that good. He's trying to push everything.
Yeah, he's pushing.
And it just...
just doesn't have the reliability.
He nicks the kid a wee bit and he just, boom, flies off and hit, in Saudi Arabia, you know.
I feel like that's hampered Haas, and it's shown every week how much those two crashes have hampered Haas, like, as far as testing the edges of their financial boundaries. It's...
So I think if he's in a let's say AlphaTauri or Alfa Romeo, you would then be able to judge his capabilities better, because you can see the promise there. Like Mazepin, honestly, I couldn't see anything there. Do you know what I mean?
No,
you might as well have had me driving the F1 car.
Aye, like, or me.
You know, with Mick Schumacher, you can actually see that there's something there that you just need to uncover it. You know, he needs to go into another car that can show it. You know, and just unfortunately today, and I mean another Haas is Ferrari components. I think the Ferrari engine as well.
Yep,
just kicked
that's
them
right.
out. It's like,
yep.
Shite.
Carlos Sainz is out of contract in 2024. Do you think it's a high probability that Mick Schumacher goes into that seat as a support to Charles Leclerc?
I reckon it's a 50-50 right now.
If he goes to a different, because Mick Schumacher only has a deal for this year for Haas, right? Again,
that's right. Aye.
If he then goes to a different car next year and he shows the promise, then I have no doubt that he'll be in the Ferrari. But
I think they want him.
He needs to. He has to move away first.
But I don't know where the hell he goes.
Exactly. I don't know who's out of contract and stuff. I'll have to look that up.
That'll be a very interesting talking point a wee bit later in the year.
Aye. We'll see. I mean, Sainz, he had an opportunity at the end. Well, I didn't think he had an opportunity. The commentators and that thought they had the opportunity to take Max Verstappen.
It's interesting with it shows the difference in the setups of the cars, because for like 90% of the lap, Leclerc can be gaining and gaining and gaining. He's up the arse of Verstappen, but when the moment comes to overtake, it's kind of it. Even with DRS, he just could not.
Sainz.
What did I say?
Leclerc.
Did I? Whoops. Aye, when the moment comes, the Ferrari just didn't have the pace to get the job done.
Aye. When he came out, obviously he used the safety car to his advantage. Got in the pits, came out, and obviously everybody bunches up. All the lap cars go free to unlap themselves, and Verstappen, boom, let's go. He was under a second for a good while, trying to get DRS, but even when he had the DRS open, there was some points it didn't even look like he was gaining.
He needed the... I think it's like he needed the straight to be like twice as long as it was. So that he could just slowly just catch him, and then get into position. But like it was at the point where like he was gonna have to dare Verstappen and make a crazy move under braking, and he just wasn't gonna do that.
No, I mean he did do some late braking to try and close the gap, but he just couldn't do it.
Aye.
Then at one point, within 5 laps ago, Verstappen was over a second.
I think he eased off. I think the
And
last lap or so, he's don't think he realised himself. It's just not happening today.
No, this was before that.
All right.
So it was Verstappen went 1.1 second, and then Sainz caught back up to under a second just before the DRS. Got the DRS, came up behind him, still was 2 car lengths behind him. It's just like, man. But the commentators thought that because Sainz had went in and he was on fresher tyres, that he would be able to take Verstappen. And at the time, I was just like, I don't really see it happening, man. To be honest, that's the way it played out. And I think with Sainz going to Ferrari, you can see he'd be a number one for a small team, but he's not a number one for any of the bigger teams.
Does he just no quite have that wee X factor?
Nah,
He's
nearly there, but nah.
I'd put him in I don't know if I would say I don't know how close he is, right? But I would put him in a similar category to somebody like a Bottas.
Mm.
Where he's going to go and be
He's
outstanding.
really, really good.
Team.
And if he's in a slightly smaller team where a lot of time and energy is focused on him and his setup, he could look sensational. But he's just not got that wee some extra that the champions have.
Yep.
And like for me, Leclerc is a future champion, man. He just needs Ferrari to sort of shit out, man, and stop.
I feel so sorry for him, because I think he's shown this year that he is ready to be a world champion driver. But his team have they've not been up to snuff, I think is the best way to say it, really, innit? Like,
no, they've
let him down.
They have let him down.
All the potential's there for Leclerc v Verstappen to be the rivalry for the next 5+ years.
Well,
there's other names that could, like Russell and stuff, that, you know, depending on the circumstances, will absolutely be in there. But
if Mercedes gets a cut,
they two seemingly are like the sort of next 2 sort of top dogs. But Ferrari need to be consistent, and they'll just know they now.
I'll tell you something. If Ferrari and Red Bull keep their cars up at that standard, Mercedes get their car up to the same standard on par, you'll have Verstappen, Charles, and Russell. The 3 of them will be duking it out for years to come. And then if Norris gets a good car, that's 4.
Tell you what,
right there. Like they would be.
Right? What do you think of Hamilton retires, Norris replaces Hamilton?
Oh my God.
Christ, that would be some lineup, and that would be a very competitive lineup, would I know?
Aye. I don't think Hamilton retires this year, though. I think he goes again next year.
His contract is for next year as well, of course. So he could leave this year, but obviously his deal is
I don't see it
until
happening.
Next year.
I don't see him retiring this year. I see it next
crack. 100% he wants a final crack at it. It's no
This
it's
year's
not
not
really in the
happening.
cards this year. It's no 100% out of the question yet, but some crazy stuff would have to happen for him to for him or Russell to get into the fight.
I mean, Verstappen's nearly 100 points in front of Hamilton, isn't he? It's like
He's
92 or something.
He would need a few DNS for Verstappen. Mercedes would need to sort their shit
Win
out
everything.
pronto.
Aye. But I still stand by what I said. After last year, I don't think he wins another championship.
I mean, in retrospect, it may have been the call of the year, mate. Like it sounded outlandish at the time, but you just about nailed it.
But it'd be interesting to see what he
Almost.
does, though. I'm sure that he doesn't retire. I mean, maybe Vettel will retire this year. Maybe Alonso will retire this year.
I was going to say, what about Alonso? Obviously, he's out of contract at the end of the season as well.
He's what, 40?
Do you think he's
41?
worth another year for Alpine? Obviously, he's looked great. Like, and this weekend, he's the fan favourite, obviously, after qualifying. But they also have your man Oscar Piastri waiting in the wings to come in from the reserve seat in Alpine. I mean, he's got a lot of pedigree in his own right. He's the F2 champion.
I think that Alonso needs to have a word with himself and decide what he really wants to do, because he's sort of really non-committal at times, and he just kind of like goes with the flow a bit. He's just like, I'll go and do some NASCAR this year. Why not? You know what I mean? Like,
he just does his thing, but I kind of respect that
definitely
about
I
him.
love
He's
that.
that laid back about it all.
I love it.
at the same time, you don't want him to hold up the young guns that are potentially like the the cream of the crop for the next generation. Like, there's a lot of hype around the story.
Piastri.
Sorry.
Piastri.
There's a lot of hype there, so it would be interesting to see him get in a good car, and it would make a lot of sense for Alonso to step aside.
Yeah. This is where you need another team or two.
Yeah, just to kind of shake it up.
Somebody with a lot of
24
money,
cars.
somebody with a lot of money should start up a Legends team, just for the shits and giggles, man.
Just
that'd be
for some
hilarious,
legends in
wouldn't
a car, aye.
Just break all the rules, do you?
Just call them still game racing.
I'm putting Nos in the car this week. Fuck yous.
They don't get
putting
points,
Nos
man.
in
Like,
the
they're not to get points. They just go out there just for the shit.
They
man.
just enjoy themselves.
just for a
They
laugh.
enjoy
care.
themselves.
You're disqualified.
Oh,
Who cares?
jeez. Here's another thing I wanted to ask you, lads. Guan Yu Zhou, he only got a 1 year deal. Is he worth a multi-year deal? you
I would
guys?
say so.
Is he shown enough so far?
Aye, there's potential
Aye.
there, I'd say.
I would say when the contract talks come around, give him 2 years.
Really?
Alfa
You think
Romeo.
he's
Aye,
worth
2
2
years.
years for Alfa Romeo?
2 years, that's nothing.
Question.
Remember,
for
this
him,
is his
though,
first.
Does he want to sign for 2 years at Alfa Romeo?
Well,
You know what I mean?
Aye.
Maybe he just wants
That's-
another year
that's-
to prove his worth to a bigger team.
I think bigger team. There's always that as well.
I mean, there's seats. There are a few seats going, so there are next year. Not as many as I thought, certainly. aye.
He has he's got a lot of the characteristics that you would look for a top driver. You know what I mean? He seems to have the right kind of mindset and stuff like that.
Oh, he's hungry as well. Like, aye, you notice that in his radio
I
communication.
like he's aggressive in the right way, and the way he goes for overtakes and stuff like that. He's not doing anything super reckless, but he chases it. You know what I mean? He goes for it, even though he's fighting for a couple of points or whatever. He's going for every move. So, you know.
I feel like he would be the right profile for somebody like Alpha Tauri instead of Tsunoda. I like the balance of Tsunoda, but I don't feel like he cares. Like, and I think that's been
He
shown
doesn't
with
care.
Tsunoda. This is just work, and I think. Aye, fair enough, it is work, but I think you need more than that if you want to be the very best at your craft. I think you've got to want it more than just fuck it pays the bills. Well, it's a means to an end and all that kind of part. Like,
Does more than pay the bills.
you say that you say that if you're grafting in a factory, so on and so forth.
He's,
Not if you're driving a fucking rocket with
He's
wheels.
what some might call a multi-potentiary. He's like, he's got an extreme talent when it comes to driving, and that's what's got him there. But he's also got talents and interests elsewhere, and he would rather have a laugh and make some money so as that he can retire young and open a restaurant chain, and he'd go and do other things. Power to him, but you've got to ask the question.
I mean, well done.
How
to him,
much
like,
effort as a team, like the team's got to ask the question, how much effort do we want to put into this guy? How much time and effort are we putting in when he's ultimately no in it for the long game? He's no chasing what we're chasing.
But the thing is, with that team as well, if he's getting them results, just getting them the points that they need to finish where they want, they don't care. They can just keep signing to a 1 year deal until the next big thing comes along. Like, I do like Sonora, he's funny.
Oh, I mean, bands wise, he's some boy, aye.
Great for Netflix.
Zhou, I think, was good for the Drive to Survive. Zhou was, I believe, the 66th driver to win points in his first race, in their first race.
Interesting.
Aye, I remember hearing that today, mate. Aye, on the broadcast.
It was 66, right? The 66th.
I'm sure it was 66th. Aye. He's been well due getting points against certainly. He's put in a lot of kind of decent performances for all. Maybe luck goes against him.
Go on. Ju's well due.
Aye, Jew was due.
Oh, yeah! Wondered why we were all cracking up. Now I've got
I'm only
it.
cracking up because Harvey couldn't contain himself. I knew exactly why he was laughing.
Fucking dad patter, even when I don't mean
Oh, God.
Brilliant.
Feel successful.
Brilliant. Failed successfully, lads.
Oh, man.
Can't even claim to mean that.
Aye. In the next race we have, let's look at the next race. Silverstone on the 3rd of July.
So we've got a week off, 2 weeks off. 1 week.
I believe.
Off, week off.
A week and a wee bit. So it's July the 3rd. First weekend in July.
Yep.
I'll be looking for, I was going to say for Ferrari there. I'll be looking for Mercedes to come out swinging there.
Aye.
Hamilton.
Got to think they're prepping some
I'm on a
upgrades.
home race.
Hamilton will want to be in that race. Like, he'll want to be competing.
Actually, watched an interesting video. It was talking about a lot of the problems that some of the teams are facing with the porpoising and stuff. Supposedly the latest thinking with Mercedes in particular seems to be that the biggest issue they've got is the sort of side skirts and the lip of the under tray. It's how much they flex is the biggest issue. And they have materials that they've been working with that they can use to stiffen that up. So basically using the same aero package but just making them stiffer so as they flex less. However, they can't use them yet because the car will be overweight. So they're working on saving weight elsewhere in the car to then upgrade that. And apparently this is the same or a very similar upgrade that Haas have recently made. But because Haas are one of the lightest, if not the lightest car in the grid, they could introduce this stiffer sort of side skirt thing without having to worry so much about what their overall weight is. So that's one of the reasons that they sorted out a lot of their porpoising issues.
Nice. Maybe you should send me that video, son. I'll watch it. Sounds interesting though, but I fully expect them to come out with some upgrades. I mean, I'm sure most of the teams will have some type of upgrade by the time we come to Silverstone. Again, if the cars are competing, it'll be a very exciting race. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say we've got an interesting run through July. We've got Silverstone, and then we're into Austria, France, Hungary.
Aye, we might not see the French Grand Prix next year either.
Was that one of the ones on the chopping block, is it?
The French and Spa.
Spa.
Yes. Yep. Aye. Companies are making big changes. We'll see. Hopefully Monaco is definitely fucking gone. Sorry, Monaco. Unless you change the track. Like, I ain't gonna tap you, son. But hopefully, you know what I'm hoping for? I'm hoping that Mercedes is really fast and we'll have 6 drivers just at the front there going for it, seeing what happens. You know, Verstappen, Perez, Charles, Sainz, and Russell and Hamilton. That'd be epic to see. Run about Silverstone, so it would. I know that Hamilton will want to have a good car for that one, or have the car performing well for Silverstone.
Yep. Just something to think about, right? No looking for an answer or anything on this, because it would take a bit of time to dig into and everything else. But interesting thought experiment to think if Mercedes had a car that was truly competitive with Ferrari and Red Bull, would Leclerc look as good as he has so far this season, or would Verstappen battling with Russell and Hamilton overshadow what Leclerc and Ferrari have been able to do in the first few races?
Or it could make him look even better.
Possibly, aye. If he was out in front of the lot of them, it would look 10 times better. So, aye, as I say, interesting. No way I know, but interesting thought.
Yes. So just before we wrap it up there, boys, who was your driver of the day?
Hard question. I think driver of the weekend, Alonso, but focusing on race specific.
Just the day, just the race.
The race specific, maybe Zhu.
Sure.
I was quite impressed by him.
Paul?
Aye, Zhu is definitely a high shout for it. However, I would probably still or Charles Leclerc just for the fact of going from back to front so well from 19th. Fifth. I think that's going to be respected. Charging your way through the
I think if he doesn't get stuck in that train, DRS train, he's probably getting in front of any Mercedes come the end of the race.
He's potentially hitting the podium. Like he had a lot against him throughout the race and still managed to pin a very good fifth.
Yep, I agree with that. So I would say Charles would be mine. And again, as you alluded to there, if he didn't get stuck behind the DRS train, not once, twice, or thrice.
The main reason he's no my pick is that I kind of forgot about him for a good few laps because he was stuck in that. He was stuck in that train, and he might as well have never been in the race.
Aye. And who was it that came up with this black and what was it? Black and brown flag.
My suggestion for the new flag.
That was your black and brown flag.
Aye. It's the flag for
Black
your
and brown.
shite. Just get off the track.
And today that would have been given to
probably Stroll for holding everybody up. Just because you're Canadian doesn't mean you get to sit there like a tube and be slow and slow everybody down. Or we can get some fresh tyres or just get him.
Paul.
Sorry, Canada, but I just do not have much love for Stroll or for Latifi, man. They're just an obstacle. Albon's a good shout in there as well. Obstacle driver, just holding up the fun. Well done. You're annoying.
I would have to give it to Stroll today as well because he did hold a lot of people up for no apparent reason. Just to finish 10th, so.
And then eventually pits and does no bad towards the end. Like, why not just pat him earlier and let him have a run at it? Why leave him out there been slow and shite?
Him being 10th and getting a point in Haas, taking nothing from that, it just shows that there is no justice in the world.
Not fair.
Isn't he? Well, on that note,
wankers.
We'll obviously leave you before Paul blows a gasket. So, thank you all very much for listening to the Moto Mash. Please remember to check out AEW Mash and MMA Mash. They got published on Tuesday and Wednesday, respectively.
Did
they? Yeah, they did. They're very good podcasts. So go check them out. They're a very fun podcast as usual this week. Yes, thank you all very much for listening. Please remember to share us with anybody you can think of. Bye-bye, driver.
Even your dog.
Aye. Or your cat.
Bye-bye, dogs.
Buy your dog a phone. Get a podcast app on it. Set them up. Bye, driver.
Driver.